Perfect.
Cool. All right. So it was a good movie.
That one sounded like... Yeah, that was like... Yeah. Go ahead.
It's...
Wait, I'll try and just, like, talk for you. Okay. It was pretty good. Eric Andre is, like, he almost got stabbed or something. I remember that part in the movie. And then... Like, that actually happened. I don't know if you heard that story, but...
Yeah, I did.
He did a part where a guy, like, pulled a knife on him and was going to, like, stab him. So he was like, let's get up. See, they're doing it for me now.
There they are.
There they go.
Bye.
What's funny about that is, like, it's sort of amazing to me that this is, like, the first time someone has threatened Eric Andre with physical violence in his career. Seeing as, like, the Eric Andre show came out in, like, what, 2013 or 12 or something like that, and it's like, that dude should be dead. Not, I mean, it's the ways that he messes with people, I figure, he would have been capped way earlier.
Yeah.
I wonder, okay, so I didn't hear about, like, that there was, like, a specific...
Oh, yeah.
Can you see him in the
My voice must be heard.
But there is a bit in the credits, for the credits of the movie, they show, like, the outtakes where they're, like, where after the scenes are shot, they come up to everybody and they're like, oh, it was just for a movie, and everybody's, like, laughing and whatever. But they kept in a couple, like, alternate scenes, or, like, just ones that they didn't use, or, like, there's some scenes that they use in the movie, but they tried it with different people, and I guess they just used the one that, like, the reaction they liked the best.
Yeah.
And there's this one where they, like, rig... I don't think this is in the... I don't want to spoil too many of, like, the gags that are in the actual movie, because they're, like, I don't know. It's part of the experience, is just, like, going along for the ride with, like, all the crazy shit that they do.
Yeah.
But this one's just in the credits and, like, the outtake thing. There's one where they, like, rig up this thing that he, like, puts in his, like, zipper, and it's like basically like a pump, so it's like, it looks like he's peeing. It, like, makes people think that, like, he's, like, peeing uncontrollably.
Right.
And he's just, like, standing next to this dude who's at a bar, and he's like, hey, do you know where the bathroom is? Just, like, as he's, like, peeing. And the guy's like, get the fuck away from me, blah, blah, blah. So he, like, takes a couple steps back, and he's like, no, just, I'll take a shower and then we can play pool together. And then the guy, like, gets up and he's like, okay, I told you. And then you can hear Eric, like, break character, and he's like, okay. And, like, the guy, like, throws his glass on the ground and it, like, shatters. And if that wasn't the knife guy, that guy was definitely really...
He's about
to fight, yeah.
There was like a story, I think it was from, like, a regular episode of the Eric Andre show, where I think it was either him or Hannibal, but they were in, like, a New York City bodega type thing. And I don't know, there was something weird. Like, I don't know if he was naked behind the thing, or if someone, bursted out. They were naked and they were handcuffed and they just ran out of the building. He was doing, like, some weird Eric Andre stuff. But apparently one of, like, the one that they ended up using for TV, the dude that came into this bodega and had this weird shit happen to was someone who had just gotten out of prison. And that was like his first human interaction out, being like getting out of jail, was going and, like, basically walking into an Eric Andre sketch.
Wow.
Apparently the scene where he almost got stabbed was not to not to spoil. There's a Chinese finger trap involved.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Okay. Oh, so you know what? Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
that was one that, like, I didn't want to spoil because, like, oh my god, and they go on with it for so long too. And the like cool thing or, like, crazy thing is that he got these like, he does that. He's done that on his show, but he got there's only, like, 3 other actors in the movie. I believe. Like, there might be, there's probably some, like, plants in random scenes that are, like, in on the joke, I'm sure. Yeah. But, like, as far as, like, characters, because this is done in the style of, like, Bad Grandpa or, I don't know, I'm trying to think of other... Yeah, kind of like Borat, too. Where I would say, more... Well, I don't know. It's like... It's a narrative, though. It's not like a documentary. Like, Bad Grandpa is really... It's like a real... I only seen that once, and it was, like, probably when it came out. But I seem to think that was just, like, it was a very loose story, and it was just an excuse for Johnny Knoxville to do a bunch of jackass stuff.
Yeah.
Borat has an excuse where it's documentary format, so it's like it doesn't necessarily have to have like a super solid plot. It can just be like, well, he's a guy who's coming over to do a documentary about America, so we can just drop him in these random scenes, and we don't have to have a reason for it. But what I really liked about this movie, other than the fact that I laughed my ass off, like way more than I thought I would, was that like the whole movie was like you were watching like a like if it wasn't what it was, if it wasn't like a real life like prank movie, it would have just been like a regular like buddy comedy. And it's so great how they like it's so like so basically the premise is Eric Andre's character sees this girl that he had a crush on in high school, and she lives in New York. But she was like in town for a day, so she like says, "Oh yeah, come to my art gallery and we can have a coffee or something." So he convinces his friend Lil Rel, who's a comedian. He's been in like Get Out and other stuff, to go like take a road trip to New York to confess his love and whatever.
Sure.
Really like generic like buddy comedy plot, and like all the scenes are like structured just like that. Like, but the fact that it's done in real life, and it's like it made me like I was thinking of those kinds of movies as there's scenes where like like in like the scene of one of those movies where the main character sees the girl and he's like, oh, like looking at her like longing, like, oh, but like he actually does that, and he's just like, he's working at a smoothie shop or whatever, and she walks in and he just like stops talking to the customers and just goes like like stares at her for like 30 seconds, and it'll like cut to the reactions of the people like are you okay, or like stuff like that, and then there's other parts where like when he convinces his friend to like go on the road trip with him, he has this big like dramatic like, what are you doing, what are we doing with our lives here, we gotta go have an adventure and blah blah blah, like an inspirational type speech thing, and in a regular movie that's not seen as weird. But then seeing it in this and seeing all the other people, because he has that conversation on a public bus, and like the other people around them hearing him talk about it, they like think he sounds crazy, and they don't have any like big reactions, but they're like doing like weird looks like that, and it like again it makes me think of like regular comedy movies, like the extras in those scenes like as real people, like what would they think reacting to this type of stuff,
right?
And it's really cool because it doesn't feel like it's like writing a story, or like it's writing the story around the pranks or the other way around. They mesh together really well. Like the pranks and everything fit into this plot. And like none of it feels like ham-fisted or anything. It's all like it all works like really well together.
Huh. I need to watch that.
Yeah, I'd like highly recommend it. I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10.
Oh, nice.
I really liked it. Tiffany Haddish is the only other his like love interest, but I looked her up and she's been in like a couple movies. So the only other people you would know is Lil Rel and Tiffany Haddish.
Sound like you said pee-pee. The only other people you know.
I know, and you'll get after like the first like handful of scenes, you realize that like, oh, you learn to just tense up at the beginning of every single scene, because it's like it rarely lets up. With like nearly every single scene, there's going to be something like that makes you go like, oh, like cringe or like
that
react.
That makes me think of like Nathan For You, where you're just like, oh no,
Yeah.
what's he gonna do?
Oh man.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, Nathan For You.
Because there's even ones where like I don't know. There's one where like, okay, after he sees the girl in the, and this is still fairly odd, so I'm not gonna like say stuff like too far into the movie, but after he like sees the girl and he's like, hey, I'm gonna go after her and blah blah blah, he just like he goes and like talks to this old guy on a bench like outside. It's at like a mall, and he's like, yeah, he's like asking him, he's like, what should I do? Should I go? He's like, is that crazy? Is that crazy of me to go to New York to tell her how I feel? And the guy's like a genuine sort of like, yeah, if you don't do it, you're going to regret it the rest of your life. So I think you should do it. And he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then he just goes, I met a girl. And he just like starts going into this song in front of this old dude. And then he like starts like spinning and like dancing away. And he's like in a food court and like continues singing. And then like a bunch of other people like come out like a flash mob sort of thing, like start like coming out and like dancing and singing along with him and stuff. And then there's also some like there's like some, well, mainly one that made me like really like, I was smiling so wide, and not because it was like cringy or like whatever. It was a little bit just because you're thinking of like these people not being in on it or whatever. But there's a part where like they like go through some emotions, him and the friend character, and then like at the end, like there's all the people, they're on a bus. It's another bus scene. And they're all like, kind of like they're arguing. It's again, it's a really basic plot. So there's naturally the point in the movie where the two main characters get into an argument, and then they split up for a couple minutes, and then they come together, and then so this is where they're like having an argument, and then at the end of it they reconcile, and they're like, okay, yeah, you're my best friend again, type thing. And like the eruption of like everybody on the bus like clapping and like cheering for them, it's like so, I don't know, it just made me so like happy. It's just like this genuine like positivity and support for these people, that was like kind of like heartwarming in a way. But yeah, that's mostly what I had to say about it.
Okay. After 20 minutes.
Well,
This is supposed to be Hard Day's Night. You watched the wrong movie.
Well, you didn't read the setup thing. We're supposed to have a warm up.
Yeah.
I got a small warm up. I got a little warm up. I guess.
Okay.
I guess it's kind of my last week warm up too. But just we're in season 2 of the X-Files now, and I just think.
Oh, okay.
I think the show is amazing in the sense that like it doesn't like beat around the bush, or it's not ambiguous about if aliens exist. It's just like, no, Mulder is correct. Aliens do exist, and it's very explicit in like showing that.
Yeah.
But I guess what I want to talk about is like we watched a series of episodes where it was like the first time in the series that there was like a cliffhanger. There was like an episode happened and then something, it was like to be continued. Like you always know when an episode is going to be like important when the text changes, because usually it says like the truth is out there, but then every once in a while it'll be like deny everything, like in the opening credit sequence. But I just it's the episode where I don't know, it's like it's season 2. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but like it's the one where
I've
like
seen it. I don't know if Travis has, but
I don't know if you care. Basically, like
I won't remember by the time I
it's the one.
watch it.
Okay, it's where Scully gets abducted. It's like the dude, the former. I know. I'm sorry, but it's like so. It's this really dramatic episode where this former FBI agent is like tormented by these aliens, and they put a chip in him so they know where he's at. And basically, he kidnaps so the first episode, he has like his doctor hostage because he's in a mental hospital, and Mulder has to go in and kind of like interrogate him or like try to negotiate, but then he's like, I believe you, blah, 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 blah. And then the second episode is after he breaks into Scully's house and abducts her and then takes her to the spot where he's supposed to get abducted, but she gets abducted instead. And what's so funny to me is like they have these two really heavy character-driven, like dramatic episodes. In between that episode, there's like this weird-ass vampire episode where Mulder has to go. To go, and it's just like there's like all this sexual tension, and like she drinks his blood so she can live forever. And it was just like, I was like, why would you put this weird filler episode in between? Like, Scully got abducted. Like, the person who doesn't believe and is always the skeptic gets abducted, and you're gonna give me this like semi like Twilight type of shit? I don't know. It was so funny. But what I wanted to say about like the fact that the show it's very unambiguous. It's like when it shows the FBI guy getting abducted, there's like literal green men standing around the bed and they're like tapping on the glass. Yeah. Like it's, I don't know. It's so funny because it's like, no, aliens do exist. Mulder's correct and everyone else is wrong. That's the whole premise of the show. Because I feel like if the show was made now, you'd get all these little clues about aliens existing, but it would be like, do they exist? That'd be like the driving narrative would be like, do they or don't they exist? But like, this is 90s television, baby. They don't give a shit. The aliens are there. But those episodes, though, were really, really, really good, though. And and then we just watched one with Bradley Whitford. So just every 90s actor that you can imagine is in this show.
Isn't okay, there goes mine.
Your dog. Yeah.
Isn't there Isn't there a Nathan For You where he goes to like Louisiana and there's like a vampire thing? Doesn't he go to like a vampire?
That would not surprise. That sounds very. I've seen like the first
maybe
two seasons
I mean
of that show.
He keeps most of those are Los Angeles, so I don't know.
Are you thinking? Are you thinking about the lady that has the hotel that she thinks is that the one where Nathan like breaks when she like talks about like having sex with ghosts and Nathan's like, wait, what?
The ghost hotel.
Oh no, not that one. No, it might not be Nathan For You, but there's something that I watched where this dude went to. I swear it was in like Louisiana, like New Orleans.
Okay.
And there was like this kind of like. I don't know. It was a house with like a bunch of different people, and they would like drink each other's blood and like,
oh god,
do like other stuff. And I thought it was Nathan For You, but maybe.
Yeah, there was a bit in the vampire episode where it was like they walked into like their secret vampire club, and there's like a poster of Vlad the Impaler on the wall, just like a little on the nose. But yeah, that's all I got. I am ready to talk about this weird ass movie that we watched.
Oh, right on.
I don't know. I don't know if Travis has anything, but like, I literally just got done watching it, and I'm like,
oh, you did?
Okay. Yeah.
It might have been just like some random ass thing, but for some reason I just pictured Nathan Fielder being in it. Let me shut my door so you don't hear the dogs.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll do the like the little intro to the thing while he's.
Okay.
I'm so sick of not having a podcast, huh?
Are you sick of not having a podcast?
Yeah.
You should try Anchor. It's totally free.
Yeah.
There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your own podcast right from your phone or computer.
Oh, yeah.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more.
You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
It's everything you need to make a podcast.
There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer.
And did we mention it's free? Did we?
Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Download today.
So, yeah, our spotlight movie for the week is A Hard Day's Night from 1964, directed by Richard Lester. It's the debut film with the Beatles, starring the Beatles band.
Debut.
a rock band.
Formed in Liverpool, 1961.
Yeah. And the movie is it's not a documentary, but it is kind
a
of like
mockumentary.
it's almost a mockumentary. It's a fictional day in the life. Well, I guess I can't really say that because A Day in the Life was on a different album by the Beatles, but it's like a day or two of
You
the
planned that.
Beatles.
You wrote that.
I did plan that. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. There's gonna be so many references that I'm not gonna get in this.
And it's just kind of like a basic like this is what their lives are like. You know, they're
No, I mean a fictionalized version of that, but
a fictionalized version.
Yeah.
Of that.
heavily fictionalized. Yes.
But I'll say this though, like their characters are not though. Like I'm sure they're written to be more like quippy than they are in like real life.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
I guess I'll get right into it. I mean to like jump this far into the movie quite yet, but for instance, there's a scene where it's just they're like at a gala or party or something like that, and they're getting interviewed by a bunch of reporters. And like every one of their answers are really like brief and like snarky.
Yeah.
But like that is how they talk. And like while I was watching that, I was like that's so them. And I I looked it up that like in particular the one line where a reporter asked Ringo, are you a mod or a rocker? And he says, I'm a mocker. That was taken from an actual interview that like so like some of that is like actually them. And I guess the screenwriter wrote the movie after like basically touring with them for like 3 months or something like that. And he just kind of was their shadow and just kind of observed them talking and interacting and wrote their characters around each of them and just kind of like highlighted their particular. He's like, oh, John's kind of like the sardonic asshole, so I'm gonna like write that up a little bit more. Paul's like the like cute sweet one, so I'm gonna tuck that up, you know. And yeah, I'm obviously I think I'm a little more favorable towards it, or like at least I'm a little biased towards it just because they are one of my favorite bands. So I had a lot of fun with it, but I'll let you
And
guys
Ringo
go
is a
more.
simpleton.
Yeah, that is what it's like. He's the dull like
He's the butt of
loner.
every joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that like there was a joke where they were talking about his nose, and they're like his head's struggling to keep up the weight of his nose. And I was like, damn, that's
Yeah.
good. I'm using that on Isaiah.
Shit, I did write down. Oh, that is good. Actually, I did write down some.
Okay. Also, did you guys see at the very beginning, like when they were like running, the like thing that
Yes.
obviously that Austin Powers was inspired by? I didn't know that, but I would say Austin Powers directly took its intro
A
from
lot
this.
of things were influenced by this.
But
yeah.
did you guys see George eat shit? Like full
Hey,
on eat
Can
shit?
you read what?
No, it's like
what I
super
wrote?
bright. It's
God
super
damn
bright.
it! Oh wait. Well, anyway, my top line, my top note, and I was gonna say I wanted to bring it in by saying like as much as I like the movie, it's a little bit of a bummer that the best moment in the movie happens within the first 10 seconds, and I just wrote George eats shit.
I didn't see it. I missed that.
You didn't?
Yeah, you gotta go
okay.
back and yeah,
I'm gonna-
pull it up. Pull it up. We won't get
I'm gonna
copyrighted
pull it
for
up.
that.
I'll mute it, but it's literally the first shot of the movie.
He
And like
eats
once
shit?
you see it,
Yeah.
you can't unsee it.
It's
so
wild.
good.
Because George eats shit,
fucking
like full
boom.
on eats shit, and then Ringo comes up and like fucking gives him the people's elbow, like right on top of him, and it's like pretty violent. And then they just pop up, and John's like in the front, and he looks back, and George pops up, and they're all like laughing hysterically, and I'm like, you just broke your wrist, like,
Yeah.
why are
But
you
like
laughing?
that's kind of why it's so like you like even like them like that was like a natural just like mess up, but that fits them so well that like
Yeah.
John does like that friend thing where you just like you look back, you think for a second, hey, I should help him up, but then you just laugh at him and you keep running.
Keep going. Yeah.
And like that's so John.
Maybe that's why George didn't have very many lines in the movie. He was like he suffered a traumatic injury.
He broke his jaw.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What have we got?
All right.
All right.
Okay, it's muted.
It's like
right here.
Oh,
bam.
And
John, like
oh man.
Yeah, I'll do it again.
He
And then John just keeps
John reacts exactly how I would react. No, like
Exactly.
empathy, nothing. Just like look back, like that was fucking rad, dude.
Yeah,
my god.
Exactly.
He went face first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
John thinks it's the funniest thing he's ever
he
seen.
does. He's very like he's got a very like Big Brother energy.
Oh
Not
my
not
god.
1984, but like yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
it happens so fast. You blink and you miss it. Mm-hmm. But oh my god, that's brutal.
Yeah, I watched it. I literally went, "Holy shit!" And Kelly was like, "What?" Like,
Come look at
You're
this.
so fucking weird. And I rewound it, and I was like, "He eats so much shit." And she was like, "Okay." I was like, I rewound it like 2 times. Like, I gotta keep watching that. It's kind of like America's Funniest Home Video type shit.
It is good. Like, I do like to watch that. Like, I'll like repeat that a couple times.
Yeah,
It's so
George
good.
sucks. I like to watch him get hurt too.
Oh,
No, I'm
no.
kidding. I'm kidding.
no, I'm George. George is my favorite Beatle.
Oh, I was thinking about that. I was like, are we gonna get to that old chestnut?
I
Who's
was
your
gonna-
favorite
yeah.
Beatle?
Yeah,
It's
we're
always
all
George.
adults. Gonna become a
It's
We're
always
all
Beatle chat.
adults. We're all adults. So all our answer is George.
It's always
right?
George.
No, mine's Ringo actually.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are you
Like-
okay? Wait, are you saying like your favorite your favorite Ringo, your favorite Beatle
Yeah, my
in this
favorite
movie,
Ringo.
or you just mean like in general?
Probably in general. Okay, so the weird thing is
Ringo's a good favorite.
like their music is good. Like we discussed last week. But I do like get like okay, TJ and I both share an affinity, if that's the right word, for like no, that's not the right word. This is gonna sound bad, but we both like are interested in like serial killer like history.
Oh,
Sure.
And like I'm not a
Okay.
huge like Beatles fan, but I am a huge fan of like their story, if that makes sense. I love the history. I like it of most bands, but because they had such a huge like cultural impact, there's this like it's like so heavily like thoroughly researched. But
right.
so I don't know. I think it's probably mainly because of this movie, I would say Ringo. But like the fact that like all the other ones, they're kind of like they're super quippy and like they're kind of like a little cool, you know. They all come across
Yeah.
as like being cool in their own way. And the fact that Ringo's just like, yeah, bros, you can just like make fun of my huge ass nose. You can like that to me makes him my favorite, just because they just dump on him and he's like, all right, cool, I'm in the Beatles, I'm a drummer, I don't give a fuck.
Well, it's like my first note was just like when they get into the train car with Paul's grandfather, who again just doesn't act like he recognizes any of them. So you're like, who's this old dude? And there's
He's
a part
clean, though.
He's clean. I was just gonna say that. It's because he's so clean.
I wrote down like Ringo grandfather line. What? And it's like this line where
does Ringo
Ringo is just he's like oh, your grandmother, and he doesn't finish his sentence. He just makes like
Are you talking about before you-
noise. Did you write? You
Can't,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I put
changed
it
the
down
focus.
as Ringo laugh. Yeah.
No, I have Ringo butchers his first line. Well, if he's your like he's supposed to be saying, like Paul says something like, well, he's something. He's like, well, if he's your grandpa, then yeah, that makes sense, kind of thing. But he
Yeah,
like doesn't finish his line. He just like
he abandons
really
it
bad.
halfway through and does a. I was like,
Yeah.
I was just like, what is
Yeah.
going on?
The funny thing is it almost seemed like it was ADR too. Like it seemed
Yeah.
like he went back after the fact and was like, yeah, we need to fix this. No, that was a good one though. That was a good take.
No, it'd be funnier if we left it in. Your horrible mistake.
Yeah. Also, before we get past the intro too far, like in that opening part, Paul's not in it. They meet up with Paul, and he's got like a disguise. I thought he rocked. Like he should have had a goatee. Like he looked good in the goatee. I thought it was badass.
Well, he does that. I don't know if he ever has just Sergeant Pepper's. Well, he has a mustache. No, he doesn't have a goatee. Yeah, just his mustache.
I guess he's got the beard on like Let It Be. I think on the album.
Yeah, he has a full beard.
Yeah, I'm talking like a.
He
like
looks like
this
he looks
and
like
this.
Tim Allen Santa Claus when he has a full beard.
And what's weird is he gains like 300 pounds too. Like,
Yeah.
his beard out.
Well,
yeah,
Paul is dead. Paul is dead. Miss him. Miss
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, have you guys seen? Well, you probably haven't, but there is a documentary, like a very amateur documentary called "Paul is Dead." That's like all about the conspiracy theory and how the one now is they call him Full, like FAUXL.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Full
very
And
McCartney.
it's actually Tim Allen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Paul McCartney was on his roof one day and he fell off and he picked up his guitar and he was like, got all British.
That what you're saying about Ringo though, that like he, like I like all of them for different reasons. And I agree that like for me it's I also love like just reading about the Beatles. Like I do think that that's why they are such like still such a important big band, because their lives were so just like observed and documented, and like there's so many books and shit written about them, and like it's just to me that like heightens the enjoyment of watching their movies or listening to their music is like reading about them and learning all these cool facts about them. Like I was just reading trivia about this movie earlier, just this like the IMDb trivia, and this might not mean anything to you guys, but Paul got injured when they were filming this and like had to miss like a couple weeks of shooting.
I think you meant to say George.
Well, no, actually, no. It said he ripped his shirt or he ripped his suit in that scene.
You can
but
see him
he
like
was
check
fine.
his palm. Like he's definitely like scraped up his palm or
Oh,
something.
I'm sure he did. Yeah. But they had like a body double come in to film like some scenes for him, and that guy's name is Billy Shears. And if that doesn't mean anything to you guys, that's the fictional leader of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band,
Oh, that's funny.
who they reference a few times in the album.
So
So it probably
is, is that Fall?
That's
I guess
it's
so.
That's
Yeah.
Paul McCartney.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say about Ringo is he is like really self-aware that he, and it kind of makes you like feel bad for him in a way, but like he's very self-aware that he isn't like kind of the least
Desired.
like
Popular.
Well, what's that?
special. Like he at one point, I think when they were doing the White Album, he was like the first one who was like, I'm gonna quit. But all the others were like wanted to quit for like other like more like kind of I want to just do my own thing, you know,
Yeah.
especially Paul and John. But Ringo wanted to quit because he didn't think he was good enough for the band. So like he thinks that he's like a really mediocre drummer.
Well, I think there's a quote from one of them. I don't know if you're about to say this, but
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. He's like he isn't an exceptional drummer. I'm not saying
to be
that.
fair, that none of at least their early music is like, it doesn't seem like.
there's not a lot of technical prowess going on.
Exactly.
It's very.
It
But
didn't
that's the
have
genre.
to be. Yeah, it didn't have to be. It was like the first.
It's got
like,
good
foray
sound and
into
yeah.
that
But
like realm. So
I think it might have been a quote from one of them, but it was like, "Is Ringo Starr the best drummer of all time?" And he's like, "Ringo Starr is not even the best drummer in the Beatles." Like that, like that. I don't know if that was like a Lennon or a McCartney like joke, but I know that's like a thing.
That
Well, do you know?
sounds like
do you know
Lennon.
about
Oh, okay.
the original drummer
Yeah.
for the Beatles and like what happened with him?
Is that
Pete
Pete
Best?
Best?
Yeah. Yeah, so like I think Ringo replaced him, and I'm gonna look it up real quick because
Was that when they were still the Quarrymen?
I think
John's band was the Quarrymen.
Yeah, but I mean, George and Paul were still.
They weren't part of the Quarrymen. And then Ringo had his own band, and Ringo was like the older one.
I mean,
So
they
Ringo
changed
was
their
like
names
the
a few times, but
there's like
Yeah.
like after Pete Best got replaced, he put out like an album called like The Best of the Beatles or something like that because his name was and
Right.
something about like they didn't get royalties on it, but he did. I'm probably butchering it, but I think I read some article a while ago that was like how people in bands got back at their bandmates for screwing them over, and he like put out an album that would have looked like it would have been like a regular Beatles album, but it was just him. But it had like the best of the Beatles on it. I don't know. It was something like that.
That's funny.
I mean, Wikipedia says Paul McCartney and George Harrison were in the Quarrymen, so I don't know what to tell
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Wikipedia rules all.
Maybe it's just that he was in the Quarrymen first, and then.
Yeah, he started it for sure.
Well, I just mean I know that Paul met John when John was playing with the Quarrymen, so it must have just been that they joined later.
Yeah, he watched him, and then like later on, he got George to come, and then George was like too young, he didn't want him in the band.
Yeah, George was like 14, I think, when they started.
Oh God.
It's just
It's- which-
fucking insane.
I thought it was weird. Yeah, but Paul's only like a year or a year and a half older than him, so I don't get the whole,
Yeah.
like
It's like George is 44. I think Paul is 42. John's 41. Ringo's 40. For their birth years, I mean, 19.
no, I think you have that backwards.
I think
So
Lennon
John
was 40.
44. You have it like flipped.
I said John. Jesus. Okay. George is 44. Paul is 42. John is 41. Ringo is 40. Ringo's the oldest.
Pretty sure John Lennon's birthday is. We don't have to get into the weeds. I'm pretty sure it's 40, like December.
Oh fuck, you're right. It is
Yeah,
40.
it is 40.
But
so he's in 39 then.
he must be. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I know Ringo's the oldest because that was like a thing that they were like, ooh, we got a cool older guy in our band.
We got a guy
It's
who
by,
buys
it's by a
beer.
couple months. It's
By a
it's
couple
literally a couple months. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you're right. I should have known that because, yeah, I remember he died in 1980 and he was 40 years old. That was like an easy way to remember that.
July, August, September.
I guess at
4
the
months.
beginning of the movie, I wasn't expecting it to be like as absurdist as it was. Mm-hmm. That was like
I don't think,
Yeah.
like I
I
think
wasn't
my other
either.
note. My other note was like Lennon blinking, and it's like him like leaning into the grandfather.
yeah.
He like he does like his butterfly kisses with his eyelashes, and then he's
Yeah.
like he's like, give us a kiss. I'm like, what is going on? It was just so bizarre.
I was like, okay, so he's clearly already experimenting with LSD.
it is really like it's bizarre that this is like okay. I've seen Help before, their second movie,
Okay.
which is even weirder than this because they do like a more of like a story, and it's like there's like a tribalistic cult involved and a magical ring, and it's very weird. I was gonna say, Travis, if you like Ringo, he's like the main. I mean, it's still like all of them, but he's kind of like basically they're being like hunted by this like cult who like wants this ring, and the ring is like fused to Ringo's hand.
'Cause his name
So there's like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
his
But
name
maybe
is Ringo. I get it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So it's even more bizarre. But I can tell you when I saw that one, I was not expecting a movie. You would think, especially now, especially at that time, especially a Hard Day's Night, where they were still that was their second like full album. And
Yeah, but it was only like their first. It was like their first attempt to like come to the United States, I guess. Like they weren't super popular in the United States at that point. It was kind of this album and the movie that like really like got it to the point of like the Beatlemania shit.
Mm-hmm.
well,
It wasn't quite as big yet.
I guess what I'm saying is like back then, like maybe you would expect something weirder if they had made a movie when they were doing like the White Album or Abbey Road or something.
Yeah,
But when they're still like, mop top, identical suits, very like, and their music is like like you said, it's kind of like it's rock and roll. It's early 60s, late 50s rock and roll. It's not they're not as experimental as they were lately. They're more like
It's like a doo-wop.
Studio type, like I don't want to say generic because I do still think that their sound is
It's a little generic.
It's still them. And it again, maybe this is biased, but like I do think that it stands out a little bit from like other bands from that time. But you would expect just something more like I don't know, Spice World, but if it was the Beatles, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, a
you
little
would think
sexier,
it'd be more
you
like
mean?
I just mean like you think it'd be more tame and basic and not absurdist, like random bullshit. Like,
Yeah, well, I think even back then, like the Beatles had sort of like you were saying, they were writing music that was like pretty conventionally, you know,
conventional. That's a.
it's like conventional songs with like conventional storylines. I love you, you love me.
Yeah.
I'm doing the hot tub scene from Boogie Nights. John C. Reilly's like, I love you, you love me. We can go see a bee. But God, I got off. It is weird how absurd the movie is for how straight laced and conventional their image was at that point in time.
Yeah,
it's like you said, matching suits and ties, matching haircuts, like
and they're supposed to be like heartthrobs, like they're rock and roll, like teen idol heartthrobs, like One Direction or something.
Yeah,
but they're this crazy like
That's what caught me
weird
off guard.
dialogue.
Yeah, it was like they looked a certain way, and there were, like I said, this was their first movie, so it's like you'd think that they would want to like. I mean, they do try to look kind of cool, but like you think they would want to be like kind of play up the heartthrobby boy band type shit. But
and then
they just got like super weird. It was just
you got
so,
John
so
Lennon
weird.
in a bathtub with his boat, covered in bubbles.
Yeah.
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 And then he like I actually like laughed out loud when he like goes underwater, and then that guy's like he's like, all right, John, let's go, and he pulls the plug, and then like his hat is sitting in at the bottom of the tub, and he's like, John,
He's like,
yeah.
real
He
concern
takes
on
the
his
boat out.
face.
He's like, put that boat down. We got a car to catch or something like that. What are you doing messing around?
Very like classic, like dry British, like setup payoff type jokes. Like,
Yeah, I thought it felt a lot like something that we would shoot. There was some like super like lynchy type stuff, like that bathtub scene. I think that was something that would be in like a Lynch, except not with that joke at the end.
Oh,
There's also towards the end where they jump. They're like off, like it like cuts, like kind of like that 70s show, like circle, like panning around thing, and they go into that field. It's before they get yelled at for trespassing, and it's like John jumps in the air, like high, and it's like slow mo, and then Paul
Can't Buy Me
jumps,
Love.
and then George jumps, and then Ringo just like hops a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, that would be in a Lynch for sure.
I have that. That's for Can't Buy Me Love, and that's another thing that I wrote down. I just put Grandpa Crane Lynch.
Oh, okay,
That
yeah.
is what
That's
that reminded
funny.
me of.
Oh
so
my
much.
God, amazing. Another point for Ringo is cool though. At the time, I think this is after the 60s, but Ringo was also in a film by Frank Zappa called 200 Motels.
Oh,
And Ringo actually played Frank. If you
Did he
look up
really?
Ringo Frank Zappa, you can find a picture of Ringo with like a long black curly haired wig, and he's got the mustache and the soul
cool.
band.
mustache and
yeah.
so it's
I'll have to
like-
check that out.
I think of all the group, Ringo seems to be the most like self-deprecating, but also like
Yes.
the most grounded in that way.
I
Like
would-
he knows he's the butt of the joke, and like he's
Yeah.
okay with that.
He's
'cause he
okay with
thinks It's
it,
funny
yeah.
too.
yeah.
I would say George Harrison too, and it's another reason that I like him so much. It's kind of, and not to get too far enough off on a tangent, but like how I think I've talked to both of you guys about like why Justin McElroy is my favorite.
Sure.
Or he was for a time. I think I would go back to Griffin, but like it's because he's the most like self-aware, self-deprecating, like in that way where he doesn't like to like he like gets on the others for like promoing and
Yeah.
George Harrison even like he not starred in. He wasn't like he was just like a side character, but I think he helped produce. Have you guys heard of the Ruddles?
No.
I think Nick might. I don't know if he can still hear.
Sorry, I can hear my cat like scratching at the door and crying through my headphones, so I let her in. But she's gonna want to leave in like 30 seconds. So, but
It's fine as long as she doesn't bark. I'm fine with it.
yeah, no. That's because my window's open. Yeah, I think I've heard of the Ruddles. That sounds familiar. Is that like a satirical parody Beatles band?
Yeah, it's Eric
Yeah.
Idle and
That's
Neil
right. Yep.
Ines or Innes. I can never remember which one it is.
Yeah, they wrote
but
most of the Monty Python music, like Every Sperm is
Yeah.
Sacred, and like
Always look on the bright side
yep,
of life.
yep.
That's a good
And it's very Monty Python-esque, and it's like the whole thing is making fun of the Beatles. And George Harrison was the only one who was like, "This is fucking great," and like he's like in it as like a news reporter too.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So I would say probably both him and Ringo like I think are the most
Like down to earth.
yeah.
They were never arguing with each other if the song should be Star Harrison or Harrison Star for the songwriting
Yeah.
credits.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I say at the beginning too. I was not just, and I think I had this notion because I had seen Help already, and I knew that like just the way that they talk and act is just kind of random and weird. But like when they sit down in the train car and they're like, "Who's this?" and Paul's like, "It's my grandfather," and like the way that guy was acting and everything, I like for the longest time I was like, I don't know if that's actually his grandpa or if it's just a guy that he sat down next to in the train.
Yeah.
But he is sitting next to him on the bench in that opening scene when he's got his like goatee on and stuff. So there was like a little, like, you know, it wasn't the first time he's seen him, but I still think that was like really weird.
Very common gag. The newspaper, like.
Yeah.
Which they do that's in the beginning of the Austin Powers. Like
Is
yeah.
it? Okay.
yeah.
Does he have a fake? He has like a fake beard.
He
in that
might
too, doesn't he?
He
Yeah,
might,
that sounds
yeah.
about right.
I didn't realize how much of that is, or how similar it is.
That's what I was saying. I think it's like directly like maybe not exactly shot for shot, but there's a lot that's like in there. Okay. Is it just me, or does his grandpa look like an ex-Nazi? Because to me, I thought like he looked like one of those dudes who, like, I don't know. He looked ex-Nazi-ish to me, and then
He escaped the Nuremberg trials, and
yeah.
I actually put another one of my notes was because I kind of like had this thought like through the whole movie, but especially when he's at the police station, he's just like yelling at the cops, just like being really like belligerent and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, is he senile or based?
A Nazi.
Or like, because he's talking about how much the cops suck, and I was like, well, what?
Oi, lads.
Kinda
Oi,
based.
lads. This is my grandpa, Joseph Mengele.
Yeah. He just had that like high cheekbone, like like
the short haircut.
really skinny, gaunt. Yeah, like he just looked Nazi
yeah.
to me.
And speaking of, Ringo does a Sieg Heil in this.
Okay, so he was.
I apparently was not watching this movie the right way.
not to the grandpa, but it's after the grandpa like tells him to like go have fun instead of like, because they like leave him to like watch after the grandpa because no one else will, and then the grandpa's like, hey, you don't need to let them push you around, you need to, you know, go have fun. So then Ringo's like, yeah, I will go have fun. And like as he's leaving, he passes by like there's like a table at the restaurant there, and that has like a bunch of like German like actors. I think they're like part of the TV show or whatever. They're dressed up as like Nazis, and like as he passes by, he like turns around and does the salute.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That scene also was like incredibly bizarre to me. Yep, there she goes. She's scratching. She wants to get out. Basically, the grandfather's like, come on, Ringo, you're ugly. You need to go get some pussy. Basically, like, there was like some weird metaphor for like, you got to get your pink cucumber in a flower. Or it says something, because like the movie's rated G. It's like it's
Yeah.
rated G, but it does have like that suggestive language tag. And like when the grandfather's like telling Ringo to go get some action, it was just like, ew, this is, I don't like these metaphors.
I just had a couple of my favorite or the funny bits for me was where they're getting all the letters, like the fan letters, and Ringo gets one. and then like the other like manager guy comes in and like has like an armful of ones for him.
Yeah.
And he's like, these ones are for you, Ringo. And then I think John says, that must have cost you a fortune in stamps.
Yeah, yep. I caught
Really
that.
quippy like dialogue that like it kind of reminds me of it makes me think of Clue, the movie Clue. Like a little like level down, but like maybe I wonder if Clue like that was maybe like somewhat inspired by this kind of dialogue, because that movie is just like nonstop, like
It almost reminds me of
firebacks.
it almost reminds me of like, and obviously this movie came before all of these things, but it very much reminds me of like airplane dialogue, where it's like it's
Yeah, or
very
something like
quippy
that,
and
yeah.
fast, but also they like switch between figurative and literal a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like because there's one where like Ringo is sitting there reading like a magazine, and then they're like they say something like, "Where are you, Ringo?" And he's like, "Page 5." Like,
Yeah.
Or like
they'll take the question literally for a
Yeah.
joke or figuratively for a joke and kind of alternate between those two.
Yeah.
or like what do you call that? What do you call your hairstyle, Arthur?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene exactly, they go back and forth like a lot. Like it's constantly like flipping.
I mean, you could almost say the same thing about like Monty Python. Like Monty Python is also very similar to like that style
Yeah.
of like quippiness.
Yeah, I was
Dryness.
thinking like Wet Hot American Summer was the thing.
Yeah,
that I
that
thought,
kind
just,
of
like very like bizarre, like random.
There's gotta be. I meant to Google like to see if there was like there has to be a term for that kind of like comedy, that like non sequitur, quippy comedy. I don't know that style of
Might just be
dialogue.
British comedy. I mean, that's
Yeah. Or you
might
then
be
you have
reductive.
scenes where like
Probably under like
where like
satire.
they come back into their apartment, and then I forget the order, but it's like John like opens the closet and there's like a guy in there in his towel, and then he just like closes it, and then he's like, there's a man in there. and then like George walks in, and then Ringo's like, oh, John says there's a guy in the closet, and then George like opens it, sees him, and then closes it again, and then like his comedic timing is perfect.
because
Like
he goes
waits
and sits
just-
down first.
He goes and sits down. And then he's right, you know.
Yeah.
and then no, because that was another like genuine laugh moment. Maybe because it was so weird, but just it was like the most British thing I could think of. The manager walks in, opens the closet, sees the dude in there, and he's just like, "What's this then?
Yeah.
Like,
What's all this then?
what's all this?"
Oh, this is just like, I don't know. There's sometimes I'm watching stuff and I notice very like little things. Like I feel like I brought this up in something like maybe like Justice League or something, where I was like, I did notice something that, yeah, it was, I can't remember what it was, but there was just like really little things. And there was one thing in this where Ringo's reading a book, and then somebody like takes it from him, so he like loses his page, and then he takes it back, and then he doesn't just open it back up and then pretend like he's reading again. He actually, like, as they're talking, he's like finding his page in the book. I'm like, oh, there's just like little things where I'm like, hey, not people don't always do that in movies, and it's just like those things that like you don't like think of, like, you know how people never say bye on the phone in movies.
They just
But,
say
like, that's not
dramatic
how
things. Yeah.
Yeah, and then hang up. Oh, and then I like the shot of the shaving cream on the mirror, like lining up with this. That was cool too. There's creative camera work in this. Like not everything, but there's creative camera work. The Can't Buy Me Love Lynch segment has creative camera work. I really like. I think my favorite song segment is I just had I should have known better. In the train. It's the one they play in like the train like luggage cart.
Yeah, where Paul McCartney kept looking down the camera.
Yeah.
He was just like He'd be like in the corner, and you could just like
You
I don't
wonder
know
if
why
sometimes
that
like
sticks
are
out.
they because they're like they're kind of shooting music videos, so like
Yeah,
are they supposed to break?
No, I get it. Nobody else did, but it always stands out to me. It's very like it's like makes me feel vulnerable or something. So like it always sticks out when. But he's like in the back, and he's just like. And I'm like, okay,
is this
stop
thing
looking at
running
me,
then?
bro. Yeah.
But I liked that, and some of this could have been because like literally they didn't have space for it. But like I liked that it was like a really cramped space, and the way that, and it was different from like the dialogue scenes too, or like I mean I guess like right before and right after the music where they were talking in that same luggage cart. When they were playing the music, the camera was like really close up, like it was like right there with them, and I don't know, I really liked how that one.
Oh,
was
you're
shot,
talking about
especially.
like towards the end when they're playing the songs. That
No,
or you're talking about on the train.
on the train, like before
'Cause-
they start playing the music, it's like the camera.
Yeah.
There's like a little more space, and
little
but when
bit.
but when they're playing, it's like it's more like cramped and.
They definitely shot
Whether-
it like on a train.
What
for
I
sure.
was saying, whether or not that was stylistic or just like mandated by the fact that there wasn't a lot of space, I liked how that one was shot.
That because it was definitely because of the space. I believe because there's a scene we were talking about where John does the whole like, oh, give me a kiss, and does the eye thing. That like immediately precedes this weird little segment where they're like just going past the window to like annoy the dude that like barged in their thing. And there's like the part where that's where I really knew like this is fucking weird because like he like looks out the window and they're like running alongside
He's on
the
a
train.
bike.
Yeah, one's on a bike, and I was like, what the fuck? And then you can tell like when they're carrying, I think they carry George down the hallway. And you can tell, like, when they get up to the camera, it's like they had nowhere else to go. Like, that was the end of the shot because it was, like, a tight-ass train. They couldn't get past the camera.
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And speaking of, I don't know if either of you like looked this up or knew this, but that one girl who's on the train, she's in like a couple bits on the train, but she's like the blonde girl. She's sitting like
one?
right next to one of them. She's like the girl that's kind of like inside the little like grating like with them. That's Patty Boyd, who married George Harrison, and later Eric Clapton, and
Layla.
she was the inspiration for Layla.
Yeah.
And George's songs "If I Needed Someone," "For You Blue," and "Something" probably is the most known one.
Oh, wow.
In the way
Yeah.
moves. Yeah. So that's what she's known for, having really great songs written about her. But that's kind of I didn't know that until I looked that one.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's all my written down stuff. I think there's another thing. I guess if we're trying to get it all out of the way, I'm sure we'll come back around to it. But I think the movie looked really nice. Like, I'm sure it's been like restored and stuff, but I thought it looked really nice. And
It did.
I don't know like why they decided to go black and white, but I think if it was in color, it would not hold up as well as it did. But like there were scenes where they're just like in an office, like the scene where George goes to like that fashion designer or whatever. Like I was actively thinking, I'm like, this would look so ugly in color, but it just looks really nice. I think it holds up really well because of the black and white, and the restoration makes it look really cool. Because Help, as much as I do like Help as well, it looks ugly. It does, because it's in color. It doesn't look as nice.
It would have been nice to see Georgie shit in color, though.
Wait, what?
To see the blood.
Oh,
Yeah. I don't know how he
shit.
doesn't
I thought
have...
you said Georgie shit. Like,
No, Georgie eat shit.
yeah.
I want to see that in color.
I don't know if that was like a clever edit or if like he just legitimately somehow didn't like bust his nose open, because when it shows him running afterwards, like there's I was expecting just like pools of blood to be coming out of his nose, because he eats it with his face first.
Well,
I mean,
actually,
he got right up and he was laughing about it too.
what
so I don't
happens
know.
actually at that point in time, That's when George had to switch places with Ringo because then he had the big nose, and then so there's like a faux Ringo and a full George, but like it's really they didn't even have to go. They didn't have to outsource that one. They just like kept that in band. We're like, all right, let's fuck up his eyes a little bit. Okay, now he's Ringo.
Okay, do you want to go into the negatives or whatever?
You seem like
I guess I thought that you liked it too. So
well, here's the thing. The first like I don't know how long it was, maybe 20-30 minutes, I was like, okay, this movie's gonna be rad. I like it so far. There's all this random shit going on. Paul's grandpa's a Nazi. All great stuff. But then it just seems so like I realized like I had to pause it to like take a piss or let the dogs out or something, and I was like, I realized there was like maybe like 30 minutes left, and I was like, I don't know what the plot of this movie is. I don't understand what's going. Like this is just these small like little scenes, like I'm watching Saturday Night Live, of these little like scenarios. Like okay, let's do a hotel room, and okay, here's some jokes. Okay, now they're on a train, and here's some jokes. And like I had to look it up. I was like, okay, so it's 36 hours of them preparing to do this TV shoot. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. That's not really interesting because it's, I don't know. It wasn't like the plot's nothing to like really write home about, I guess. It just was a little aimless.
I mean, I agree that like it is. If you're looking for a plot, then yeah. But I just
won't find it here.
I don't know. I don't think that means it's bad for not having a plot. It's just I think the movie knows what it is.
Well, I guess it kind of goes back to that conversation we were having about like barking dogs, and like the more like Coen Brothers style of filmmaking, where you just see a snapshot of time play out, as opposed to like a beginning, middle, and an end, and character develop. Not that you're like expecting like character development in a Beatles movie.
Mm-hmm. Like, I guess I don't. I mean, I can have it either way, but like, I don't. Yeah, I don't need a plot as long as the movie's entertaining. You know.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
I think that there was enough other stuff that I enjoyed.
At a certain point for me, it was just like, okay, like I don't know, and they kept playing.
Beatles
the songs,
music.
and like it was like, I mean, there's some on there that I hadn't heard, obviously, and I don't know. There was a part like, especially when they did like the mini concert, I just basically skipped that because they went into like I listened to like 2 songs and then they went to the third song, and and I was like, so this is just like a concert. They're just playing the album at this point. No thanks, I skipped it. But there was a couple of times where there was like it started like, some kind of riff on the guitar and bass, and I was like, oh, this is actually like I like this. And then they'd start singing, and I was like, no, now it sounds exactly like all of their other songs. And I realized that it's not necessarily the instrumental part of the music that is super like kind of sounds so similar to me every like one of at least their early songs. It's like the vocal melodies are very like it's kind of like a rapper who has like the same like he raps the exact same way every single time, and it's just like kind of monotone. So to me, I was just like, okay, I don't.
Well, what makes the Beatles like kind of what they are? Again, it's like it's the Seinfeld isn't funny theory. Like the Beatles, they sort of created conventions in pop music that work. Like the band Ween, I don't know if you've ever heard of the band. They have an album called White Pepper that they put out, and all of the songs on it, like basically their whole thing was like, we're gonna use Beatles conventions to like kind of make our own, and it's like but it's like a pop record, but it's like a damn good pop record, and it's because I think they use these conventions that like the Beatles sort of, and George Martin, who I think he died a couple years ago, but George Martin is like this huge producer, and he was like the guy. I mean, honestly, you should probably give George Martin just as much credit as like John Lennon and Paul McCartney and all of them, because like the stuff that they did in the studio at the time that made those conventions work is just like the limited technology in the studio is like insane what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, fun fact. George Martin got an Oscar nomination for this, and the Beatles didn't. So for the
Didn't
score
he-
or like
didn't he-
soundtrack or blah.
Didn't he get something for Game of Thrones too?
Yeah, I don't know.
Booyah. Dad joke.
In the podcast recording, I'm just gonna add in an audio clip of like
Yeah.
Or since or the
crickets. Crickets. No, do
the-
crickets. Do crickets. Yeah.
Yeah. But another thing that like maybe it was a happy accident, but I think it was Lennon who could not stand the sound of his own voice like a single pass through.
Yes.
Lennon insisted on a doubling of his voice. So like every recording that you listen to, I don't know if it's like they take the same track and like duplicate it, or if he just does 2 passes at it. But like every Lennon recording of his voice, it's his own voice layered on top of it, because he just for some reason, and it might have
you can kind of tell
accidentally
that, yeah.
became iconic, you know, like that
Yeah.
sound.
Yeah. Another fun fact that sort of tied into that. When they were working on like the American distribution for the movie, UA wanted to actually dub over all of them with like American voice actors. And Paul
Whoa.
McCartney
that.
said he said like, look, if I can understand a fucking cowboy speaking Texan, they can understand us speaking Liverpool. And
I mean, to be fair, there was some times where I was like, I don't know what he just said.
to
I
be
don't know what he
fair, I did turn on closed captions for the movie, but they didn't work, and I just dealt with it. But
Yeah. It was there was a couple times where I was like, I don't know what he said.
there's sometimes,
And there's some
especially
things-
Ringo.
Yeah, they're like the clean, like they kept saying clean. Oh, he's so clean. Like that must mean something kind of something else.
It's like a
'Cause, like,
slang
even-
term. Like it's
Yeah,
gotta be.
because even like when he's in like the casino thing, they're like,
Does that mean he's a virgin?
Yes. Maybe.
Well, he's a
He's-
grandpa.
And he's also a Nazi.
Oh, I thought
could
he
be
said
adopted.
okay.
You don't have to be Nazis are virgins.
All Nazis
so-
are virgins. Yeah. Like
That's our
retroactive.
stance.
Yeah. And
Virgin
all
beta
virgins
cuck
are not
Nazis.
Wait.
All Nazis are virgins. All virgins are Nazis. So doesn't matter how old you are. Just born.
Or how
guess
many
what?
people you fucked. You're a virgin Nazi.
1 hour, you're a Nazi. So yeah, there was in that scene, in the casino scene, they're like, oh, is that, I forget what his first name was.
His grandpa,
Yeah. It's like,
John.
John? He
His
was like,
character's
oh,
name, yeah.
that's John McCartney. He's loaded,
Oh,
blah,
yeah.
blah, blah. Oh, yes, he does look clean, or something like that. And I was like, oh. So maybe that just means, like, he's cleaned up because he was wearing, like, a suit the whole time.
No, he's
Who
he's
knows?
circumcised.
They could have just they could yeah. Who that movie's it's weird. They could have just been like, let's call him clean a million times because it's
Yeah.
funny. If
Yeah,
everybody
maybe,
calls him
maybe.
clean, I don't know.
People are like, is
I mean, that was
slang?
definitely
What is
part
that?
of it. It was definitely part of it because, like, why would they say it like an hour later in that scene, like some random,
Yeah.
like it was obviously that. But at the beginning
Well,
part, they
and
kept
also-
saying he was clean, and I was like,
yeah.
does Paul like bathe his grandpa? Why are they congratulating Paul on how clean his grandpa is? Like,
That was I forgot that they they compliment Paul for his grandpa's being clean.
well, because it's
Yeah,
at the beginning you think his grandpa is like a deaf mute because he doesn't say anything or
It's just
react.
weird. He's just being
So
weird.
you're just like, okay. I kept waiting for the moment that guy was going to be like, who are you people? I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be that kind of joke. There were still parts throughout it that were like interesting, that made me laugh, but like after about 45 minutes, I was kind of like checked out a little bit because I was just like, I don't
Yeah, it does. It does feel a little bit that like the first bit of it is very, very tight in terms
Yeah.
of like jokes, like scenarios, setups, payoffs. Like the whole like them being outside the train car, like on their bicycle. Like there was far more of this like absurdist, but like realistic absurdism that was going on at the very, very beginning. And I feel like about halfway through, you kind of lose some of that. And it's like there's still like visual gags, like the whole police station thing where like they run away from the police and they're running down the street, and like the carjacker guy who like after the third pass, he's just like, screw it. And then like they run
and then
back
a cop
to
gets
yeah,
in
the
with
cop
him.
is like,
that
follow
was
that man.
great.
That's
I
good.
forgot about that. That was a
That's
great
good.
gag. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like what they leave the police station the second time, and then like Ringo is all the way. He's like running with the cops basically at like the tail
Yeah.
end.
Very Scooby Doo.
Yeah, Three Stooges-y or
Yeah. So it's like I feel like the movie really worked when it was doing that kind of stuff. But then it was like all the songs intercut, and you're like, oh, okay, they gotta put asses in seats. They gotta have
It
their
was
selling
like
point.
an hour and a half commercial sometimes, where it's like, okay, I like especially reading the Wikipedia and seeing how it was like a marketing ploy to get them to catch on in the United States,
Right.
which I understand. I was trying to keep that all in perspective while watching it, but it still felt like there was enough material for like 50 minutes to an hour, and they just kept like, okay, what about we have another idea for a scene that we can put in there,
Sure.
and like
kind of. And some like you have to think of this as like at the time that it came out too, that like there's not like it's not as easy, like music just isn't as easily accessible. So it's like, hey,
yeah.
you get to listen to some Beatles songs because otherwise you just
Right,
gotta
yeah.
wait for it to play on the
Yeah,
radio.
they didn't
or-
have. Yeah, they didn't have Spotify. They only had like Napster and shit back then. I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And
With dial-up.
And there's like something weird with like Beatles releases, like oh god, the first album was called like Please Please Me, and that came out in the UK, but like the first album to get released in the United States was like
Yeah.
It was Beatles for Sale, I think.
Yeah,
That
so
was
it's
the next
like
one.
it makes me think of like Final Fantasy SNES games, like Final Fantasy 2 is like
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 4 in
Yeah.
Japan or however that works.
Well,
Or
yeah, that's the
Earthbound
weird
and
thing
Mother.
because
Yeah.
Beatles, if that is the next one, Beatles for Sale or whatever, it's pretty much just like a reissue of Please Please Me. Like
Right.
Hard Day's Night
Yeah.
is what I consider to be their second album because it's
Right.
their second disc with new songs and all that. But they would do these like in between each of their what I consider albums, they would do more albums for like American or like international release where it was just their older music just like rearranged or something
Right.
like that. And
It's
it makes
with-
their
it's
discography
with the Beatles.
with the Beatles. Okay, so it was
Yeah.
Beatles for Sale the next one. I know Beatles for Sale is one of those interlude type
Yeah.
It's
weird albums.
It's the one after Hard Day's Night. It's between
Okay.
Hard Day's Night and Help.
And that was like a very popular thing back then too, because like there's some like old like country artists that I was like, oh, I want to get into like some of these older like country artists, like I guess like Marty Robbins or like some of those guys,
Travis Tritt.
and and Garth Brooks. So many of I don't know why. I guess was that around the time that Hawaii became a state, but there are like
Or I think.
there are so many of those albums that came out that it's like, no, I just want to listen to like the main discography of this guy. And it's like there's 4 best ofs, there's 5 like Hawaiian albums where it's just like there's like Elvis has a bajillion Hawaiian albums, and it's just like
Right.
it's like I remember facing a similar dilemma when I was like, okay, it is time for me to get into the Beatles. And like I downloaded a bunch of their stuff and I was just like, where do I start? I don't know where to start. And I ended up not listening to that much because I didn't know where to start. I'm one of those people where it's like, I want to start at the beginning. And it says here that there's like 3 albums that are technically the beginning, and I don't know which one to listen to.
Yeah, it's because most of their albums are like 30 minutes long, and with like maybe like 8 to 10 songs, and like 6 of those songs feel like rough drafts for like the one like good song, like
I can see that.
I mean, says you. This I don't agree with
saying
this.
I'm not saying one good song. I'm saying like the song that like everybody like Hard Day's Night, like that song Hard Day's Night is like, and then what's the other one? Can't Buy Me Love, right? That one's on. I think that one's on.
That's on Hard Day's Night. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like 2 songs, and then the other however many songs, they all feel like rough drafts. That's kind of what the movie felt like too. Like overall, it was like, okay, we've got all these little skits, these like rough little skits, and we'll just patch them all together somehow.
I just checked, and they have like 10, 11 albums like that are like what I consider like actual albums.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know exactly what you meant, because I did it wasn't when I started listening to them, but like I don't know, whenever I did that, on Spotify I just like hit like add to library, just like the Beatles, like thinking, okay, I'll get, Please Please Me, Hard Day's Night, Help, Rubber Soul. But it's all of those so then I have like 5 versions of I Should Have Known Better or something like that. It's like, no,
the single version.
I just want the one that's on A Hard Day's Night. I don't want the one that's exactly the same that was on 3 albums after it.
Right.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's so crazy to me too, is that I mean they were together longer, but like their whole story is only, I mean, when Beatlemania like actually took off like worldwide was like kind of Hard Day's Night, like 64. And then they broke up in like beginning of 1970. And it's like, that is like the most interesting, like, that's what really like drives my interest in their like stories, that it's like, it's so big and like all of these different things and all these different like kind of eras that they had.
Yeah.
And it was such this like truncated like time that they had. It was like, if you were to look at like just from like from this to like Sgt. Pepper to like how like physically how they changed, like they just look completely different.
Oh yeah.
It's just like everything about them is like so different.
Like, even like the Abbey Road album cover, like John's hair and beard are like down to his shoulders and like, because I think that was like around the time that they went. Did they go to India and they got into like the sitar, and then like
that was a couple years before. That was like Sgt. Pepper's White Album, which was 67, 68.
Yeah,
but
and they got,
I mean,
like super into that stuff.
See, I was like, I just said like, no, that was later, but it was just a couple years. But it feels like so much later because in between Let It Be and there's just like so much difference between.
Well, it's like very rarely do bands like have clearly defined eras within the span of like a decade. Like that's unheard of.
Exactly. Yeah. They don't change styles so quickly. Like they had like 2 albums
and
a
it
year
works
for like,
and it works. That's the thing.
Like 6 years.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. I totally agree, and that's again another reason that like they're so like fascinating to me too. It's their story. It's just like, and it's so funny because like as much as I do like listen to them and like read about them, that like I still like when you said that just now, every time I have to like stop and think again, like I do find myself like slipping and not realizing that it was just like 7 years ish.
Yeah,
it's fucking insane all that they like put out in that time. Plus their movies and like just everything else, like, and then immediately after, in 1970, George Harrison releases a double album of All Things Must Pass that goes like number 1, and like so immediately after I mean like again, it's not, none of their stuff is quite as big as the Beatles stuff, but like that was a huge album.
Oh yeah.
When it was released, and it's a pretty fucking good album. I think George Harrison's also another reason he's my favorite is he has like the best post Beatles career.
Doesn't have Live and Let Die though.
He doesn't have Live and Let Die. That's true.
Live and Let Die.
Or Simply Having a Wonderful Christmas Time. That song. I hate. That's like my least favorite Christmas song ever. I hate that song. I like that so song, much.
Doesn't it have what? Oh
man,
Ringo.
Favorites. Mariah Carey's.
Oh yeah, that's
Just because it's everywhere.
Ringo's got some corkers too on his solo career too.
Fuck you.
I've actually
Ringo
heard that
rules.
like Ringo's solo career, if like, I feel like I've heard that Ringo's
Thomas the
solo
Tank
career
Engine.
gets. He used Mr. Conductor.
He's like the narrator and yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, what a prestigious lineup of Mr. Conductors. You got George Carlin, Alec Baldwin, and a Ringo.
I might add it. I just don't know where we could watch it, but I thought about adding to the bad movies jar Caveman starring Ringo Starr and Dennis Quaid.
I did. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Okay, so the thing with Ringo though is I like you know, Beatles era Ringo. I don't like. I can't stand like now current Ringo.
Oh yeah, like peace.
He looks too much like a member of U2, and I'm not like.
Or yeah, U2 or there's another band that I always.
Coldplay.
No,
not Coldplay.
no. Well, this isn't a negative because I like Depeche Mode, but he reminds me a lot of the Depeche Mode lead singer nowadays.
Yeah, maybe.
but I like Depeche Mode.
Yeah, I mean U2's got some good songs, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
I get
whole,
what
like,
you mean.
Vibe is like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like Bono. I don't like Slash. I don't like these like.
Do you mean
Slash from like AC? No.
Guns N' Roses?
Guns N' Roses. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like those dudes, like one name dudes like that. Except for Sting. Sting rules.
Yeah.
The wrestler and the musician.
I went on like a sort of not like a total wiki wormhole, but like through reading about Hard Day's Night, I stumbled onto The Who, a movie produced by I don't know, like they're not in it. It's not like, but I don't know if it like if it's like all their music and stuff or whatever. But it's called Quadrophenia, and I stumbled onto it not because of like that it's also a rock band, but somehow I got tied to it with like the whole mod rocker comment, the mocker thing. And it like referenced that movie. It came out after this. It's not like saying that was what that was referencing, but that movie is all about like a feud between a rocker gang and mods, like warring and stuff. And Sting is in it. That's what it made me think
Hell
of
yeah.
that.
You should put that in. I'd watch the shit out of
It
that.
would be. It does seem like I'm kind of like more interested. Like I want to add. I didn't. But especially if we talk to it, I want to add The Wall in because I've never seen that. I kind of am like getting more interested in adding more of these like, yeah, like old like rock band produced or like associated movies like Quadrophenia and.
Yeah, I'll throw in. I mean,
would be awesome.
I was just about to say I'll throw in 200 Motels.
I wanted to see that movie for forever, but like, wasn't it just like not available for the longest time?
It had to do with like the Zappa family because like it had been released, but I don't think it had been released up to like Frank's standards. And I think within the last 10 years there was like an official Zappa family release of the film, like on Blu-ray, like high def, all that kind of stuff. I've kind of fallen off the Zappa train a little bit just because like I listened to it so much when I was younger. But yeah, also 200 Motels is very like. Well, I mean, you've probably heard about like Frank being banned from SNL.
Yeah.
Because whenever it came for his character to like, whenever it came to him to like read lines, he would always like ham up to the camera and just be like, I'm aware that I'm on TV. And like, I don't know, that didn't
take
fly.
himself seriously or whatever.
Yeah. So his movies are very much in that vein where it's like self-aware and also like being satirical of TV and movies and stuff. But yeah, I'd like to watch 200 Motels. My roommate just texted me, open door for treat. Hold on.
He comes back with like a dog bone in his mouth.
Okay. I guess this is where like my sort of like bias comes in because
It's an iced coffee.
Oh, nice. I kind of want a coffee now.
At 8:30, I'm going to die.
Yeah. Kelly got me one too, and I was like, nah.
And kind of like going back to like how, you know, like they kind of had to have the music because I was promoting. I don't know. I guess I go a little easy on the movie because I'm trying to take it for what it is. I'm not trying to take it for like it being like every movie we watch being like the best thing. It's just like I know what this movie is trying to be, so I don't really like count that stuff as a fault. But also I like their music, so like it does bug me that their concert that they do at the end, it's like they play like 3 or 4 songs.
It's more than that. It's like 4 or 5.
It might be 5 because they do let me see, they do.
It's hard to tell because they all sound the same, so it sounds like one long song.
They do like, oh, maybe they do 5. But you say like the music's different. You say like I agree about like the lyrics, like that's kind of what I mean, how it's like really contemporary, but like I think their sound of like their music is unique, but yes, their lyrics are
I'm not even just talking about the lyrics. I mean, yes, the lyrics, lyrics. I don't really pay attention to lyrics too much when I listen to music. It's, to me, like the vocal part of a song is just like another instrument. So I'm not
Same.
somebody who like
That's kinda
overanalyzes like lyrics or anything. But I'm just talking about like the melody of their voices, like, or not their voices, of how they're like singing. It's very like the same every time. It's like
I think
like
I
that.
think there's enough uniqueness between their songs. Like If I Fell is
Some of their songs.
If I Fell is a completely different sound than Hard Day's Night, and that's
I'm not
different
saying
than,
all of them. I'm saying like on this album there was at least 3 songs that they played in this movie that I was like their like vocal melody it's way too similar. It almost sounded like they took the same lyrics, the same vocal track, and put it on top of another, like a different like guitar riff. To kind of bash Ringo, his like the drum is just.
Yeah,
They had him
It's
record.
the same
They
thing
had
every
Ringo record for like 2 hours straight of
Yeah.
the same like skiffle beat, and then they just
Yep.
like cut it and
Hey.
paste it.
Yeah.
like I said, I agree that Ringo is not special. I was just saying that like I still feel bad for him that like
Ringo-
he was so self-aware that he wanted to like leave the band. Like you're like, oh no, like it's one of those things where like you're right, but you don't have to go. No, it's
Ringo
okay.
actually recorded, like, I think it took him like a couple months to record this entire album. And Ringo was there recording the whole time, but it was just to get a good, clean 3 minutes of him just doing the same beat the whole time.
that they could copy.
Well,
paste.
Because that's why he was that bad.
That's funny, like what you said about like Ringo wanting to quit around like the White Album because like he didn't think he was good enough. That's so funny that everyone else in that band pretty much had like life-altering experiences. And like that's why they wanted it. Like John Lennon like met Yoko Ono and he you know Imagine, like the world peace, that whole thing, the Vietnam War. George Harrison went to India and like got into like I don't know meditation or whatever. Got into the sitar. Paul McCartney,
He just kind of stayed the same.
but just like Ringo wants to quit, and they're like, "What have you done? You've just been here as the drummer." Like,
Like, oh, you're
Yoko
still here?
wants to break up the band. George wants to move for like spirituality. You have imposter syndrome, dude. Like, you can only leave when you have a reason good enough.
He was self-reporting. That's why.
I was just gonna make an Among Us joke. I was like, man, should I go for the second dad joke of the
Self-reporting.
What was I gonna say about
Well, for the music, it also doesn't help that what I was gonna say about the concert segment. Actually, like the concert and on, because even the credit song is the song they open the movie with. But like,
yeah.
There's 4 of the 6 songs that's like the concert on is songs that they already played in the movie, which is
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's a little bit of a bummer, but like at the same time, I was still singing along to like.
They're trying
all
to
of the
sell
music.
that. They were trying to sell the album to an
But-
American audience.
But there's 13. They only did like the first half of the songs, and there's some good songs in the second half. They do an instrumental of "You Can't Do
Yeah,
That," which is
I caught that.
which is like maybe my favorite song on the album. They have an instrumental of that, but they should have put that in the movie somewhere.
They
I
they
really
had
like that
other
song.
songs like just like the melody, or I don't know. I don't know what you'd call it. They had like an orchestral version of some of their
Instrumental.
Oh
Yeah,
and there
like
was that.
versions throughout the song, the
Yeah.
movie.
There was one that's not even on the album that like I have heard it somewhere before, but there's one of the George Harrison songs, because he did two. It was whatever the first one he sang is one that I don't think I'd really heard before, but I like that one too.
Oh.
It's not on the album. I know that.
Yeah, I think I kind of see what Travis is saying, but I think that's also like what allowed them to eventually branch off and do other more experimental stuff. These are kind of like the money makers, really. Like if it's compared to now, like some of the music that comes out where it's just like, oh, okay, this album exists to sell these two singles and everything else is forgettable. Who cares? The fact that even like the forgettable who cares stuff that the Beatles did was like that solid and good is like a testament to like their songwriting abilities. I don't know. I'm trying to like meet you both in the middle there where it's like
I'm not saying it's terrible. I'm just
Right.
saying it sounds too similar to me. It's
Sure.
too, yeah.
but it's yeah. I
They
see
had
what
a
you're saying.
formula and
Yeah.
they stuck to it. Like, I get it. I understand.
Yeah, but
It's just like I'm not gonna listen to the whole album. I like the greatest hits ones because it's like, okay, these are the good songs that I want to listen to.
But they did Please Please Me and Hard Day's Night, and those ones I think you can lump into that. But right after this, and Help is still kind of not like it's not quite Abbey Road, but like right after this one, they were already starting to like get a little weird, and then the
Yeah.
Rubber
Yeah.
Soul got even more. So it's not like they were like stagnant. They did 2 albums that sounded the same.
No,
like there's
they
bands
weren't-
who are
Yeah.
and again, how short of a period of time this all
Yeah.
was. Like they did 2 albums that sounded conventional, but they were still like bringing in like new sounds to a conventional genre, but they were still bringing in new elements and stuff. Despite the biggest criticism I have with their early stuff is the lyrics. I really like their vocal melodies. I really love John Lennon's voice, especially. He's probably got my favorite voice. I really like how George Harrison sings too, but I feel like John Lennon has like I really like his voice.
I'd say I like Paul.
I like all of them to be like. There's not between those 3 because Ringo does sing on some songs too.
Yeah.
And he's got his own.
a Ringo-led song. Oh, here it goes.
Ringo's
got his
songs, he's too nasally. That's a
Yeah.
big nose joke.
And a time I was born. Yeah. Have you guys heard Good Night? That's off the White Album. That one's creepy.
Is that a Ringo
It's
one?
a Ringo one, yeah.
Ringo special.
It ends with him like whispering, like very like
Ew.
like with a very like
Like
ASMR type
ASMR,
sound.
yeah.
Like and he goes,
That
"Good night,
Ew.
everyone."
that sounds like that was right the album that Ringo was gonna leave, right? Like right before that.
I think it was White Album.
Okay.
It was the one of their last few.
I don't know
It might have
I
been.
don't know this song. I've maybe heard it before.
I think it's the
but, like,
closing song on the album.
it sounds to me like a suicide note. I'm gonna leave this band one way or another.
No, it's supposed to be like it's supposed to be like a lullaby.
They won't let me
Type
quit.
song.
Good night.
Exactly. Like for the long sleep.
A permanent lullaby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say like when I think of like my favorite Beatles songs, I do tend to skew towards like the later era stuff. Like I guess
yeah.
I haven't really like listened to like I haven't sat down and listened to like an album of theirs like front to back. Really, I don't think. But it's like I definitely think like my favorite songs are like I think Glass Onion is like one of my favorite songs. I think that's White Album.
Yep.
Obviously, what's
While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Oh.
That's like
that
is
might
that
be
probably their best song. No, that's George Harrison.
No,
For sure.
no. Oh, sorry. I thought I muted myself. One of my viewers said, "Wow, I stop in and y'all bashing the best Beatle." But I had my thing down, so
Wait,
I wasn't
Ringo?
sure. I'm not sure.
Because Ringo's the best.
I had Streamlabs closed, so I didn't see the
Okay.
comment until just now.
Yeah, just to like reiterate for anybody just joining.
Probably
I was bashing
Ringo, though.
Ringo, but I love Ringo. I said earlier, Ringo's my favorite. So
Yeah, we're bashing him, but with this movie, he's proven he can take it. He enjoys it actually.
Yeah. I like all of the Beatles. Yeah.
He's in on the joke.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I feel like I have to mention this every time this song. Have you seen the George Harrison Memorial Concert of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, where Prince shows up and probably delivers like one of the best guitar solos of his life? We'll have to.
No, I've seen some of the songs from that. Like I saw the one that Danny Harrison did.
Well, Danny Harrison's with. So there's like there's a really great shot where it's like you can see George Harrison's son, and he looks so much like George Harrison.
He does. It's insane.
It's uncanny.
Yeah.
But you can watch because I think. Oh God, what's the dude from? I think it's the band Traffic. The lead singer of the band Traffic is there. I don't think Clapton is there. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're doing While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and I think, God, I'm blanking on all the names of like Tom Petty is there, like all these like really famous guitar players are there, and when it comes for the solo, Prince just like materializes out of nowhere, and just like just shreds. And there's like a scene, there's like a part where like Prince like leans back as he's playing, and like obviously two of Prince's like handlers are like kind of in that part of the stage where like the security usually is, and they put their arms up and hold Prince like so he can lean all the way back while he's shredding, and they just kind of hold him, and then they push him back up, and there's this great shot where you can just see George Harrison's son just like laughing, like you can tell that he is probably having like the time of his life while Prince and then at the end of the thing, Prince finishes the solo, the song ends, Prince throws his guitar up off of his shoulders, and it just doesn't come down, and you don't know where it went.
Can you watch this on YouTube?
It's on. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. I don't know if we
Okay.
get DMCA'd,
Yeah.
but
No, I'm not gonna play it, but I want to watch that later.
it's so good. Oh,
Yeah.
Someone in my chat asked if we've seen Help. I have not seen Help.
I have
but,
seen it.
TJ has.
I've seen Help. Yes. It's also in the cup, so it's
Oh.
into it eventually.
There's a possibility it could get drawn.
Somebody also recommended Swiss Army Man.
Yeah,
saw
Lainey
that.
said Swiss Army Man.
It's
That-
pretty good.
Swiss Army Man's pretty great. That was like I didn't know that was I wasn't even into A24 movies when I saw that, and then like I learned about it being an A24 movie like after the fact. I was like, oh, well that makes sense.
Oh, I remember what I was gonna say earlier. Have you guys seen the John Lennon? I think it's the whatever the which fucking pisses me off. The Lennon. No, what is it called? The Plastic Yoko band
Plastic
or
Yoko
whatever.
Band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's that band or whatever. And he's playing with Chuck Berry, and then Yoko Ono is in the band too. Have you guys seen this clip?
Maybe.
Okay.
I thought you were gonna say something else, so maybe not.
If you're about
Okay.
to talk about how Yoko Ono sings, I think I have an idea of where you're going with this.
yeah.
It's kind of that. It's like there's like a clip. I don't know how it's a clip of like I don't know Bill. I think it's Bill Burr. Yeah, it's Bill Burr. And he's kind of, I think it's like on a podcast or something, but he is just bitching about this scene of like, because like Chuck Berry was like a huge influence for John Lennon.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
like, he's like talking about how like John Lennon's playing with his like his hero, and like he just to like shut Yoko up, he's like, okay, you can play the fucking bongos or the tambourine or something. So she's just like in the background, just like, dum 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 dum, and then like. As they're singing like Johnny Be Good or one of Chuck Berry's like hits, she just like comes up to the mic and she just like takes the mic out of the stand
hear
because
it
it was
already.
like down lower for just like you know the instruments. She picks it up and she just like just vocalizes this weird ass shit. You should watch the clip and watch watch him like bitching about it or listen to him bitching about it and then watch the clip and you see it's fucking bizarre.
There's
and
go ahead.
John Lennon doesn't react at all. He's just like still just
jamming along.
along.
There was a concert. I think it might have been. I think it's like a John Lennon double live album, like live in New York City. And there's 2 songs near the end where he plays like Frank Zappa and the Mothers are playing the same night, and they do a collaboration. So it's Frank and then it's John and Yoko, and like there's like this weird communication thing between them where like I'm pretty sure they played one of Frank's songs and then they played one of John Lennon's songs, and Frank like clearly says the name of the song that they're playing together, and then like I think Frank eventually did put it out, but John Lennon put it out. I don't even think that he mentioned that he was playing with Zappa, and I think he just called the song like Jam Rag because he didn't. I don't know if he's like pretending like he didn't know what the song was called, but it's like it's a good song. It's a really interesting because it's like that intersection that you don't think would be, because like Frank kind of made his whole career like making fun of like doo-wop and like Beatles-esque bands that are just like, you know, I want to give you a diamond ring and I love you so much, baby, like that kind of stuff. But it's just like, oh damn, it's Frank Zappa and John Lennon together. Like, oh, I bet this is so good. And then halfway through it, it's goddamn Yoko Ono just screaming like a dolphin. Like John Lennon like sings a line and they're doing like this blues number. He's like, you know, I love you, baby. And then like, it's like,
Yeah.
like, it's like, come on, man.
Yeah. I saw one of I don't even remember why I watched it. Maybe I feel like I watched this, but like watched it live, but I didn't. I might have just watched it on YouTube. It was on David Letterman. It was the Flaming Lips and the Plastic Ono Band playing together, and it was like the most embarrassing like live performance I've ever seen. Because I don't know, like the Flaming Lips used to be like an indie sort of garage rock band, like in the 90s, but now they're like total. I don't know. They're like trying to be like sort of psychedelic type. I don't even know, but just like noise music, and that's like what Plastic Ono Band is. And it was like,
the word you're looking for is art.
Like, all the time. Yeah,
it's art.
And it like the dialogue, the singing was just Yoko just going,
oh no,
ooh, ah, like that kind of shit, and then it just like stops, or it's not stop, but it's like it ends with like a minute or two of her just going, stop all wars, stop all violence, stop all wars, stop all violence, over and over, no stopping, just for like a solid like minute or two. And it's like she can't keep getting away with it.
Well, that's kind of like, okay, well, how do you guys feel about what's the John Lennon Christmas song, the like War Is Over? Like, how do you guys feel about that song?
I like it. I think
was it Ethan that says that he hates it or something like that? I know people that
maybe
hate it because there's like children in it or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. We don't have to.
I can't even think of it right now. Yeah,
it's like, he's like,
I'm listening.
So this is Christmas, and
yeah.
Oh wait,
I like
that
it.
one. Okay, yeah.
And then the chorus is like,
song.
is like, war is over if you want it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I don't know, like the sort of like art activism that John Lennon and Yoko Ono did. It's like, I think some of it was like kind of interesting, but it's also like proof positive that like viral marketing type of like anti-war protest just like straight up don't work.
Yeah.
And it's like I feel like it's very, very telling when it's like you see like old ass Yoko Ono just screaming for a minute, end all wars, and it's just like, sorry, that's not really how like movements work. Like it's just, it's like I understand the sentiment, but it's just like this is just empty marketing to me at this point.
Yeah,
Well,
it's like I agree with her with what she was saying, but like
you're not going to make a movement happen.
Anything for me. Yeah, like what am I supposed to feel other than just like cringe out of this?
I don't know much about Yoko beyond like her involvement with Lennon. she just like I wonder what what sold her to John so much, because like at least after his death it seemed like she was just like trying to like, maybe not even after his death, she just wanted to like, she was like, oh okay, this is my shoe in or this is my foot in the door of the music industry. I didn't have any talent before this, I don't have any talent now, but now I'm tied to John Lennon, who's a Beatle, so here
She's got
I
that
am.
association, so it's like,
yeah. And she's like John was like, hey, I'm like a creative dude and I don't like war. I'm going to make a good song. And Yoko Ono was like, I don't like war either. And I'm also a musician. And war is bad. War is bad. Don't do war. Like, that's just what happens. It's inevitable. But yeah.
It's like Corey Feldman, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, he has like ties to music or like ties to fame, but like, I say that, but I fucking love Corey Feldman's music as a joke. But like,
well, didn't he put out a documentary about like how like predatory like child actors type shit? I feel like, was it one of those?
Are you talking about that one?
Yeah. No,
That's
because like he was in The Lost Boys. I haven't seen that movie. Don't hurt.
He was.
Yeah, and he was in The Goonies too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh yeah, he was in Gremlins.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of stuff in the 80s.
Yeah.
By the way, the band is now called Yoko Ono Plastic Ono Band.
Oh,
so couldn't fit your name in any more than that, I don't think. Also, it features Lenny Kravitz on the drums. Questlove on the drums.
Lenny has to sit on the corner on the bongos this time.
Oh man, looking through the list of like people who have played with her, I just lose respect for them. Eric Clapton. I've lost respect for Eric Clapton for other reasons, but
yeah.
Wait, is there something I should know about?
Oh, he's like horribly racist.
Yeah, he's just a piece of shit.
I just don't like him because he
killed his child.
Because he was a bad friend to George. I think.
He threw his kid out the window. Jesus.
So he could write a song about it.
Yeah.
I need some inspiration. No, I think there's like a concert where like Eric Clapton was basically saying like the equivalent of like keep the UK white or something. It's like an anti-immigration thing, and it's just like, oh,
that's cool.
Just play Layla. What are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
Just play your song about stealing George Harrison's wife. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't need you to get political.
Yeah.
Do we want to
virgin?
Final thoughts?
Clapton's a virgin.
Okay.
Or no,
okay.
No, sorry. He's a Nazi.
Okay.
That's what I meant. That's what I was getting at.
Yes, I was gonna say we detoured off the movie like half an hour ago, but that's okay. I like
it. It became more of a Beatles chat.
But I think we knew that was going to happen. I'm okay with that. Yeah. That's kind of like what I wanted, like our warm up thing to be, like what I was talking about before, like about just kind of like them in general. But it's okay that it was like just naturally
kind of
like,
inverse
swapped around. Yeah.
I
really dig it, and I like I obviously like their music. So like even though it was it was a concert film more or less, it just was done more narratively. I'm not giving it like a 10. I rate these movies ahead of time, but I'm just saying like I almost felt like I could have given it a 10 out of 10 just in how much I enjoyed. Like there was so many times where well, okay. Again, I'm not saying because it's the best movie ever, Travis. But like,
no, I know.
Based on how much I enjoyed it, like there were so many scenes where I would like I would rewind them like over and over again just to see like everybody's like reactions to, I don't know, because that's like the enjoyment I get out of like watching them. It's fun, like
Yeah, you
just
get off
watching
and-
them. Yeah,
I
I
gotta
get
re-
off to.
I gotta rewatch it just to watch George eat shit. I can't believe I missed
Yeah,
that.
there's a bunch of different. There's another one where they're playing a song and I don't remember which part it's in. I wish I could think of it. But like he also George, who I guess he's just like the naturally like the most like clumsy one. He like knocks an amp off a stand and it just like falls to the floor or something. And they just leave it in the movie. I love that stuff. That there's like I didn't go through it because there was so many, but on the IMDb like goofs page where it has like technical like like a boom mic was left unshot or they dubbed it thing. There was a lot in this movie, and it was like this kind of makes me want to go back and watch the movie again to like see all this stuff because I like that when it's more forgivable in like older movies or like The Evil Dead. Part of the charm of that movie is like how much the like low budget shows, like how you can see that like pasted in moon in that one shot where it's like clearly like taken from another frame or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I liked it. But I give it an 8 out of 10. I had a lot of fun with it, and I really like the absurdity of it.
I looked at the goof page too, and the one that I thought was most interesting where it said like they forgot to add a plot. No,
Boom! Some of my favorite movies
I'm kidding.
Boom.
don't have
terrible.
plots.
No.
The Before trilogy is one of my favorite trilogies, and there's no plot.
No, that definitely has plot. That definitely has plot.
It has as much plot as A Hard Day's Night. I'll say that.
The reaction to you saying you could have given it a 10 out of 10. The reason I reacted that way is because you said that like in the last 10 years you gave like 8 movies or something 10s, so that I just was surprised that this one would.
But I didn't.
Maybe get a 10.
But I did. I'm just saying, like,
No, I
did
know.
really
The fact that
enjoy
you-
it. But
You can justify it to yourself. Like, okay.
yeah,
That's
a 10
why-
out of
that's why I
10
was
has to be
surprised.
like a 10 out of 10 for me has to be like maximum enjoyment, as well as like technically and like all of that has to also be like that. And this like I feel like my enjoyment was like pretty high, but like I said, like it was thin on plot. There were like, and it was as enjoyable as it was. As a movie itself, like if it wasn't the Beatles, if it wasn't George, John, Paul, and Ringo, and it wasn't their music,
Oh yeah.
it wouldn't. It'd be like
a bad
It'd be like
movie.
a 5 or something.
It'd be a bad movie. Like it would be bad.
Yeah. Like yeah.
No, I would say that like at least like the first 45 minutes I enjoyed, and then after that it was kind of a drag for me. It was just kind of like, okay, they're just doing little quips. It was just like set up, quip. So yeah, but it was cool I kind of expected it to be different. I didn't think that they would be as like goof. It seemed like too modern, I guess. Like they're like self-deprecating or the way they kind of like made themselves like portrayed themselves. They didn't like do the like One Direction or NSYNC where like there's everybody's perfect and they're all superheroes and stuff.
They very easily could have made a movie where they were all hunky dreamboats who always had the right thing to say and was like,
they kind of played themselves like Ed Sheeran plays himself in the Beatles inspired movie. The movie Yesterday. He's in that, and he's very like kind of like cringy, but he's like also cool. He like I like that that they did that. So I don't know. I guess I'd maybe give it a 6 or maybe a 6.5. I don't think I'd ever watch it again. But it was half enjoyable, more than 50% enjoyable, maybe.
I feel like I'd watch. I want to watch like bits of this again. Like I would for sure watch scenes again. But like start to end. I'm not sure.
there's still like jokes that are like solid that I think are like funny, and I'm like the nose thing. I'm gonna use that. I'm taking that. That's
If it
mine
had been like
now.
a sketch comedy show, it would have been
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like, and
Yeah.
like stitched together, like linked together with like musical interludes where they were
Yeah.
Yeah.
jamming.
I mean, I probably will see this again because the music does. I do like the music and everything. It is like a bunch of Beatles music videos strung together.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm gonna. I want to say like I feel like I also want to give it an 8, but I also don't know if it's necessarily something that I would like recommend to a friend. But I think it's really well done, especially for like a 1964 movie. The way it's shot, the black and white is like such a good touch. The way I think it's like one of those things where it's like it's kind of how I feel about like Citizen Kane almost, where it's like it's a culturally important movie that I feel like people should at least see because it's an interesting snapshot into a time period. Even if like this movie's like kind of jokey and satirical, it's an interesting snapshot into like the sort of early stages of like a band that whether you love them or hate them, you can't really deny their like cultural importance and like what they did for like many so many bands. They're like, okay, well, yeah, well, what inspired you to start making music? The Beatles. I guess every like 70s, 80s, 90s band, a lot of them are like the formulas just that they made back then just worked, and I don't know. So I think I'm giving it a higher rating mostly for its like cultural importance as like a film. That being said, I do think I lean more towards Travis in the sense that like the first 40 minutes, super tight, very funny, very good jokes. Like everything about it is like absurd. And I think once they kind of lose the absurd edge and get more into like the marketing material, if you will, when it's like, okay, we gotta sell records, it kind of lost me. But then even then, near the end, there's some really good visual goofs and gags when they're like running with the police and the carjacker like has to lay down and hide 3 times, and then there's still some good gags. And it's like an interesting, the fact that like they're self-deprecating about it is also like I did not expect it to be so funny, and I didn't expect them to just like kind of make fun of their own fame or make fun of Ringo as much as they did.
Yeah.
So I'm rating it high mostly because I think it's like it's good, and also I think it's an important like cultural piece of media. As pretentious as that might sound.
No,
I mean it's on the Criterion collection. So
Wait, so what's the number?
I said 8.
You did?
I'm leaning towards 8. I'm gonna say 8.
You said 8, and then you kind of like saying
that.
yeah.
I like no. I like. That's sort of how I feel too. That like you especially something like this, you don't want to. This isn't a movie that you can just recommend to anybody because it's a Beatles. It is what it is. It's a Beatles movie, and but yeah, like I think like almost for me, it's more like a 7. But it's like I like it because it's the Beatles. I like it because it's a very influential movie. It's like in a way, it's like precursor to like MTV type like music videos. Like the music videos weren't much of a thing other than like people like playing in which they do at the end,
on like the Ed Sullivan Show or whatever.
Yeah, music videos were like the end of this movie. They didn't do like cool stuff where they're like in a train car playing, or like where they're doing like the Lynch sequence out in the. I guess that one in particular, I read that Can't Buy Me Love Lynch sequence is a very influential scene for like future music videos and stuff. So yeah, I think
Yeah, I mean,
really
80% of my grade is Ringo. Ringo carries. Fuck John and Paul.
Ringo
For the first time in his life, Ringo is carrying the momentum.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like 75, 80%. Like 15% of it is George eating shit at the beginning, and then the rest is just like the rest of them.
Oh, I forgot to mention too, for George's post Beatles career, he did also do the Traveling Wilburys, which is a good band as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that like the supergroup with
yeah, kind of like
Roy Orbison, Jeff Lynne from ELO.
ELO.
And, Tom Petty.
Ah.
Oh man.
Well, yeah,
And
that's how,
Roy
that's
Orbison
like,
died like I don't think they had even finished the album when he died, but
Jesus.
good music still.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like right off the bat, that's how you know they're not taking themselves too seriously. Like they could have easily reshot the scene where George eats shit, but they left it in because it's
or
just
where
like
he knocks the amp over, or
Yeah.
like
Well,
it was also
I mean,
so
I
much
think they
better
had
that they left that stuff in.
I think it's because they had to have like a quick turnaround. I mean, it's obviously not like. I mean, it looks clean, and like TJ said, it's probably been restored. It looks pretty clean, but the sound is garbage. I mean, there's so many times where you can tell that there's ADR and it doesn't match up at all. It's pretty kind of slapped together. I think.
or
It actually had a really low
Or
budget
it's intentional.
for the time
or
Well, yeah, I can tell.
for being a movie about the Beatles.
they were trying very hard to appear nonchalant and self-deprecating, so they had to film George eating shit like 10 times before they got
Yeah, that was intentional. Yeah.
He's just like, oh, not again. All right,
that's-
George, get
that's
back
what-
down the sidewalk. You gotta do it again.
That's why when John got all like anti-war and they went to like India and they're like, oh yeah, peace, and he was like, they're like anti-violence, and they're like, George is like, yeah, I need to leave the Beatles because I just remember Hard Day's Night. They just beat the shit out of me. I need to get the fuck out of here.
I think in general, like not just in the movie, but like because that was a lot of like how they carried themselves, like those like snappy comebacky type things, especially John. I think the fact that they were so kind of like, I don't know if like down to earth is the right way to say it, but just like self-deprecating, self-aware. They weren't too like high on their own fame. I think that's another reason that they're so like well liked in general. It's because like they just seemed like, fun lads. Like
Yeah.
I think it's maybe a little hard to say. Yeah, I know what you're. It's hard to say like they're down to earth because they weren't like playing. They were playing themselves. They're not being
definitely.
legit. I think it's a lot easier to like. It's kind of easy to do that. Make fun
Heightened
of
reality.
yourself, like
Yeah.
but
yeah.
not to take anything away from them. Like very easily they could have been went the other way, but they're just regular people just like us. Just like People Magazine says.
There's an awesome George Harrison. It's like one of my favorite quotes. I can't remember what it is though. I'm trying to see if I can find it really quick. I wish I'd have thought of this sooner.
Speaking of George Harrison, while you're looking for that, my dad has a copy of All Things Must Pass, and I think it's actually a triple album.
Oh,
But
it might be. Yeah. Okay.
It's like the box is like leather bound. It's such a cool like package, but it comes with a poster in it, and the poster is huge. It's like the size of like an album sleeve, like that square. It's like you hold like a vinyl record like that.
Yeah.
So the poster is, think of it as like that square, but it's like 6x6 or like 6. So it's like
Jesus.
you have to fold it like a bajillion times to get it to fit in the box. But like the poster is like insanely massive.
Oh shit. Damn.
But yeah, I've seen it at a record shop a couple times, like complete in box with the poster, and it goes for like $60-$70. Like it's hard to find. God, there's a really good song on that record too. Probably my favorite George Harrison song. It's got
There's a few.
got-
I mean, that's my favorite album of his.
It's got.
solo.
I know it's got like pedal steel guitar in it.
It's got let's see. I was just listening. I was gonna mention that too. That like, even though they do repeat the songs in the movie, I did also listen to A Hard Day's Night, the album today, after. And then I listened to some of All Things Must Pass actually.
Oh God, where is it?
It's got. I mean, I like Wah Wah, My Sweet Lord, What Is Life.
I think it's I Live for You.
I Live. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, that song is just like the vibe of that song is like so good.
So what are we watching next week?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you? Oh, is this the Bad Cup?
Nope. No, we still got.
I keep forgetting that. I keep forgetting that.
We've got.
I just
next week-
really,
changed it.
I just
next
really
week
want
after-
Freddy Got Fingered to show up.
Yeah, there's a few in there that I'm really looking forward to. Yeah, but I'm distracted 'cause I was trying. I don't know. I'm like trying to rapidly scroll to find that thing, but I don't know. It's probably not gonna happen.
It'll happen as soon as we stop streaming or recording.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Was that
Okay.
Spirit of the Staircase?
Yeah. Okay. Next week's movie is. Ooh,
The Animatrix and the Matrix Resurrections.
cool.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one.
Probably
no
have
idea
it.
what you're talking about.
I don't remember. I think it's on Amazon. I think it's one of those. It's a very minimalist sci-fi. I don't know much about it. Just that it's very low budget, but
Yeah, I would say so.
it's very yeah. I honestly haven't even really looked at.
Did you suggest this one because it's one that you wanted to watch, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're the ones in here are either I actually don't know. I think more of them are ones I haven't seen. I have a few that I have seen, but they're all ones that like I want to watch because I think they look good.
Okay.
No, I know it. That's what I've heard, that it looks really amateur, but apparently it's pretty good.
I just went to the
So I've
Wikipedia
heard.
article and scrolled through real quick, and there's a little footnote that says publicity through file sharing. And it says, in 2007, producer Eric D. Wilkinson publicly thanked users of BitTorrent who distributed the film without express permission, saying that it lifted the profile of the film far beyond the financier's expectations. So it's almost like, thanks for torrenting my movie. Well, I mean, sometimes, that's word of mouth for, something like that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I think I'm guessing just based on like how like low budget and everything it is. I think it's an Amazon one.
Yeah.
Make sure you don't watch the sequel because I've heard that's just like garbage, like complete garbage. And who knows? Maybe the first one is too. I don't know.
We'll find out.
Don't judge me for these movies not being great.
the soundtrack seems like pretty legit.
I'm trying not
has-
to look up too much of it.
Seventh Symphony, Second Movement by Beethoven, and then a song called Forever. So it's literally 2 songs. It's the soundtrack.
Whatever was public domain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
literally
people who
all I
watched
know
the
is
movies were like, or watched the movie, they were like, man, this movie needs some music. Let's BitTorrent some music for this guy to put into it.
Crowdsource the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking of a joke while I was watching the movie, just like we were like gonna pull up a clip to play on stream of like the movie, and just as soon as we hit play, like the laser pointer of like a sniper scope just like lands on one of our chests because it's like DMCA. They're just like, you can't play music, you can't play Beatles sons on stream. Just like how
That's why
fast.
I triple check to make sure that that was muted when I played that.
Because that would be funny
especially with them.
to see how fast you could get something like taken down. Just like how many seconds of a Beatles song can you play before like your entire channel gets taken down?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm not gonna find it before it's there's a point in waiting for it. If I find it though,
yeah.
I'll post it because it's I don't know, it's funny. And
It says
I
it's
just like George
free
Harrison.
with ads on Amazon Prime.
Okay. Yeah.
cool.
Okay. Yeah, they have some there like that. Cool. That's good.
Ooh, have you guys ever heard of the Bad Ben movies?
Bad Ben.
Yeah. That's sorry, I don't know, we can do this off pod, but that's one of those like bottom of the barrel gutter trash like Amazon Prime horror movies that like Trevor and I watched a couple years ago, and they're like it's one dude who wants to make these like like almost found footage style. Like he sets up a bunch of cameras in his house, and it's like him working basically by himself, and it's just like, this is me recommending those movies for the bad pile because there's like 4 of them, and they're so hilariously bad. But it's like Amazon Prime is rife for that kind of stuff. Like there's some good stuff,
yeah.
and then it's just like if you scroll through, you can find some real shiny turds in their horror section.
I'm watching the beginning of the movie, and it doesn't. I mean, it looks like the people who like the shot, like it looks professional, like the shots and stuff for the most part. That was okay. I take it back. Those last 2 cuts are a little like, yeah, like okay, we got the sun setting. We got to get this shit done. But it's funny because it looks like the copy that was uploaded to Amazon was a bit torn to like copy. Like it doesn't. It looks like
interesting.
like he lost the copy of it. And he's like, hey, can somebody send that to me?
Is it as bad as
Amazon wants it?
Is it as bad as like the end of the Ungrateful Dead when we used like your sister in place of Molly? Yeah, jean shorts and a gray shirt. Yeah, no, perfect. That's all you need.
Oh my fucking god. So stupid.
Honestly, kind of worked.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really see anything with that like literal like VCR like
That's
tape
true.
deck.
We did have that
So
going
bad
for us,
looking.
yeah.
Convert it to disc and then convert the disc to files. Oh my god.
Yeah. We used like 4 different cameras for that shit. DV tapes, like
Well, I
digital.
I think what it was is we originally were filming with the tape, the really crappy one, because we were trying to emulate the like Super 16 early, Sam Raimi stuff. But then like we like kind of doubled back and we were like, well, but it looks really bad, so we want it to look kind of good. So then we used like a digital camera that looked a little like not great now, but like
Didn't Isaiah break it? I thought Isaiah
digital
broke it.
camera?
Possibly.
I think that's why we switched back because I think something happened to it, and it got broken somehow.
Oh, maybe.
I'm pretty sure that's why we switched back to like my parents' like hand cam with like the mini cassettes in it. God, that sounded so terrible. I think it adds to the charm. We gotta go through and like ADR all of our lines, like completely redo the sound and audio of that movie.
Yeah, with that film camera, like
the hiss
through everything.
Yeah.
Do we want to like do plugs at the end, or do you want to just? Are we good?
We could just like say
Hypothetically for like the audio portion.
Oh,
sure. Yeah. Yeah. Again, we can. Before we like, I don't know. I think we should agree maybe on like. I mean, it's really up to you as far as like when you want to like try doing that, because I don't even know what the process is for like, putting out podcast episodes or whatever. But like we should like whenever we do say that like we want to start doing that, we should try to like
Name the thing.
Yeah, name it, come up with a title for this, and have cleaner beginnings and endings. Like where, our intro is better today. Like I
agree,
think, but
I suggest Clean Grandpa Crane.
Clean
Grandpa.
Clean grandpa.
Crane.
The clean grandpas.
Yeah.
Cleanest grandpa.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Grandpa Clean.
Clean Grandpa Chat or something. Yeah, something. But yeah, I don't know. If it was me, I would just say what I said at the top. J-Spot Jack Cheese is my Twitch.
Sweet.
That's it.
Yeah.
I have a YouTube and stuff, but Twitch is really what I focus on, I guess.
Yeah. Dr._Funk PhD on Twitch. That's me. That's pretty much all I have going on right now.
The Super General on like everything. I stream sometimes, but not very often anymore, but sometimes. So yeah.
Thank you for the bits, Elaney.
Yeah.
Also, I have an OnlyFans where I clean grandpas.
Ooh.
Yeah.
God.
Consensually.
I would hope so.
Oh wait, I got just before we do, I'll just we don't have to get off the call, but I'll say to end the recording at least. I'll say so long, and as George Harrison once said, stop throwing jelly beans at me. That wasn't the quote I was looking for, but it works.